I think the overarching goal here, right, if I'm a law firm owner and I'm thinking about, well, do I need to explore this, is creating efficiencies for your most valuable assets, right? If you run a law firm, your lawyers are the ones that need to do so much of the heavy lifting. And if you can add support resources to them, you are creating efficiencies everywhere, which is translating into profitability for the firm.
Well, hello and welcome to the Sterling Family Law Show. I'm Jeff Hughes. I'm your co-host along with Tyler Dolph as well. And we have a guest, Kelley Shaw, who is the Director of Operations in our firm. And Kelley has worn just about every hat in our firm with the exception of lawyer. And she is our second or third longest serving teammate. So Kelley, welcome back. And I asked you to come on today to talk about how you have built a structure for managing our offshore teammates. So if you can just help us understand the volume of teammates, the number of teammates we have that are not here in the United States, and the history of how we used to work with them and how we've changed that for the better. I think there's some real good information there to share.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me back. Yes, I could certainly talk about our offshore team. That team is exclusively located in the Philippines. They're spread all throughout the Philippines. And I believe there's about 40 team members on that team now. And so, yeah, just to talk a little bit about how they are structured now versus when we first started utilizing the team. I think we've been utilizing individuals in the Philippines. Gosh, it's got to be like 5 years now.
Well, actually, we went back to 2018 is whenever I started working with Eden, who was helping with our sales process and kind of auditing kind of our process and what we were doing. So that was our first one, and it has grown from 7 years ago to where we're at today.
And can I just interject quickly? If you are thinking about this, we have found that these team members are incredible humans, very dedicated to the cause, very easy to train and open to doing whatever is needed to help the firm.
Thank you, Tyler. That was great. I heard you refer to them as offshore. That's actually a term we don't really use a lot internally. So, but for identifying it for our listeners, that's why you did that. So talk to that because I'll let you take over from here. Explain kind of the process that we've developed over the years.
Yeah. So originally, as you mentioned, and you brought up Eden. So Eden was one of our original team members there. So she actually then went on to kind of oversee that whole team. She was responsible for training, for hiring, for recruiting. And regardless of what team that an individual was supporting, they all kind of reported up through her. She did all of the coaching, the one-on-one, like all of that. As that team began to grow, that obviously was not a very sustainable structure, not just because it was very difficult for one manager to know and train 10 different functions. There's many more now, but also because it inadvertently kind of created a two-team structure, right? Like we had this offshore team that kind of was their own, and then we had our onshore team. And that just didn't have the culture, that wasn't supporting the culture that we were striving for here. So I think about 3 or 4 years ago now, we made the transition to have each of those team members just report directly to the manager of the team that they're working for. So for example, if you're on our QA team, if you're doing QA for the legal team, you're in the legal team L10s. If you're doing QA for the intake team, you're in the intake L10s. That allowed for those team members to really feel part of the team that they were supporting. They know those individuals now. They're better connected to the processes that the team is executing. They have input. They do the training with those team members. They're engaged in the various activities that team might do. I know intake is they're very engaged with each other. They do a lot of types of team building, even virtually. So, to your point about, I'll speak a little bit to how do we make this feel like one team. We are we're very intentional about including everyone, right? Like they're in management meetings, they're in L10s, L10s for those of you that aren't maybe familiar. Every team in the firm has these standing L10s each week for that team. So they're in all of those meetings. In addition, the managers are doing one-on-one meetings with them, just like they're doing with their stateside individuals. So there's really not a distinction anymore in terms of what one team is doing versus the other. Um,
That's a huge best practice, right? That we've learned over the years is that it should
Mhm.
feel like a single team, not, oh, well, you're offshore, you're onshore, you're whatever. It's like, no, you're part of the team, you're doing this thing, and we're all aligned on the goal.
Yeah, and that, that comes down even to like our Christmas parties, right? Like we do a virtual version of our Christmas party to facilitate our offshore team to make sure that they're feeling included. I send Christmas cards to the Philippine team members every year. I put pictures together and handwritten notes to send to them. I have to do it like next week in order for it to get there in time, but so it's just little things like that. I mean, I know we've done like after hour social events just to make it really feel like we're one team. So that I think is if you are considering utilizing offshore team members, making sure that they actually feel like part of the team is huge, and you'll see the difference in how they engage with your clients and how they engage with your internal teammates. Like they are part of the family.
Yeah. So you also didn't mention that they work the same hours as we work here, right? And because our teammates here in the US are frankly spread out among what, 5 or 6 states and all over Illinois and Wisconsin. So we're almost exclusively virtual already. So adding in these teammates from the Philippines who speak English tremendously well, it doesn't feel any different. I don't even think of them any different as a US based teammate.
And on that topic, real quick, I think if you aren't a firm that has like we are very virtual, like everybody's virtual, like you were just saying, Hughes, even in the States. Even if you're not set up that way, if you start to have team members that are in other countries, wherever they may be, you have to really dedicate and be intentional about the camera stuff. Like it is just a part of our culture now. Anytime you jump into a meeting, your camera is on. And if your camera's not on, it's frankly weird. Like, are you in a bad spot? Are you okay? Are you sick? Like, we're worried about you if your camera's not on. And I just think that that's important to call out because I think people underestimate how important that is. And having that face-to-face interaction when you're virtual, it's hugely important.
Yeah, extremely important. And it's something we've actually mandated across the firm over the years. I know so many meetings when we first started switching over to this was like, hey, put your camera on. We expect to have your camera on. So there's a lot that happens in connection with people whenever you can like look each other in the face. Talk to, if you would, Kelley. I want to build a little bit more and kind of double tap on each Philippine teammate is on a team and they report up just like anyone else on that team. Talk about the number of different functions and teams, because I think a lot of people don't appreciate that it's not just answering the phone. It's in every department other than lawyer. We have teammates that are in the Philippines. So talk about all those different functions.
Sure. Yeah. I'll see if I can remember them all off the top of my head. I'll start with the ones I work with closely, the closest. So, to start, Echo, he supports our ticketing system. So anytime you put in a ticket into Salesforce saying I'm struggling or I have an issue or my email's not working, I got locked out, etc., that's going to Echo. And so he's doing that correspondence. He's following back up. He's jumping on a Google Meet with you to troubleshoot and get through that. Our web developer, Yuri, he's also in the Philippines, so he works very closely with us, also with Rocket Clicks, right? So he works pretty seamlessly, in that remote environment, doing all of those items. We also have a fair amount of team members that are on our QA. So they're listening to phone calls on our intake team and literally QAing it, like giving a score, saying either you missed the mark or you nailed it based off of your script. Similar for the attorneys. So there's individuals that will review consultations. We do have a proven process for our consultations. So they're giving a score of how well newer attorneys are adhering to that process. We also have individuals that are working as a more traditional personal assistant. So helping some of our team leaders kind of stay organized, helping them with small projects they may be working on, whether that's Sterling Day or, other projects. They might be doing project work for me, but they work closely with Katie or they're Katie's direct personal assistant. So those team members, we've got quite a few of them that are kind of sitting in that utility role. Like they're supporting the leaders in the firm. We also have a couple of what we've dubbed as a virtual legal assistant. So kind of this hybrid between a paralegal and an assistant. They'll do some drafting, but they're reaching out to the courts. They're scheduling things. They're client facing, so they're having interactions with clients. I'm just trying to think of any other ones.
Well, you have e-filing. They do e-filing as well, right?
Thank you. Yep, e-filing. So they facilitate those court communications to the clients.
They're doing intake. So the first time a client will call us, they're answering the phone. So that's a high level of trust that we're going to go to put the people that we're trying to, help and serve in our firm. So
And we have the data that backs it up, right? They're doing a tremendous job in doing that. I think the overarching goal here, right, if I'm a law firm owner and I'm thinking about, well, do I need to explore this, is creating efficiencies for your most valuable assets, right? If you run a law firm, your lawyers are the ones that need to do so much of the heavy lifting. And if you can add support resources to them, you are creating efficiencies everywhere, which is translating into profitability for the firm.
And last thing I want to close with, Kelley, is that your investment, our team's investment in our team in the Philippines, is you went over there this last year, right? And you put together a 2 or 3 day event on an island. And I know Jeff Curlin did that last year. I'm on deck, I believe, to go in 26. So talk about that a little bit on the investment that requires to get everyone together and then go over there and spend time just with each other.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, it's an awesome trip and I'm excited for you to go. But the goal of it is just give that team an opportunity to get together, and just be with each other. They put a lot of work into putting that event together. So like last year we went to Cebu. And so I had a planning committee that they really took care of all of the details. They've found the resort, they coordinated the food, they coordinated getting everyone, 40 of us to each of the locations. And the point of it is like, we want them to feel we want to give them the opportunity to engage and be together, just like we prioritize that stateside here with Sterling Day. So I love that the firm has made that investment, and the fact that we now send someone from, the States over to go and do that with them. It just makes them feel like they are valued, and they are so valued here. And we just love having that additional interaction with them. And it was just some of these people I've been working with for 5 or 6 years, and to finally see them not with a screen between us was just really, really fun. And it was just a really engaging weekend. And you always kind of wonder, will it be different when you finally meet someone in person? And it was like, you don't skip a beat. It's like, hey, remember that conversation we had last week, right? Like it does, there's nothing awkward about it, right? Because they are just part of everything that we do. There is no this, them, two different teams. Everybody is very much working together.
Tremendous. Well, thank you again for coming on and explaining the process that you've developed over the years. It was really helpful.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.